Hello YouTube, Sp4zie coming at you. For the King 2 is finally out. Freshly released. I've been playing it. I'm here to answer the question, is the game worth? How does it hold up to the much beloved For the King 1? And why the hell are the reviews mixed? Settle right in and we'll get started. Some quick housekeeping before we dive in. Consider this video more of a first look / first impression. I finished one of the game's 5 campaigns, so I have a good grasp of the basics, but I haven't seen all the content. Also note that the video will spoil some of the first campaign's encounters, so you have been warned. And finally, I was given this game for free. There were no obligations other than that, but I haven't paid for it. What is For the King? It is a turn-based, roguelike, tabletop-inspired RPG. You each pick a character with a specific class. This defines what weapons and stats you want to focus on. As you start the game, you get the basic sort of tank, melee, and healer to pick from, but as you progress, you'll unlock more characters. And then you play through a campaign consisting of a set amount of quests and encounters, and once you reach the end of it, usually by killing a bigger boss, you win the scenario. Or, and this is more likely, you'll get smocked and lose, and you'll have to start again with new characters, but this time with a little more knowledge. And maybe with a few newly unlocked starting items, making you just a little bit stronger than last time. The main objective of each scenario is the same every run, but the map layout, where everything is, what mobs and events will spawn, and what side quests you can pick up are all gonna be random. The gameplay is very tabletop-like. The overworld pretty much looks like a digital board game. Here, on your turn, you'll roll some dice to determine how much you get to move. Oh, good. Need.
Resistance.
Super good. Coming over there to fight Yanni and to take the shield.
Okay.
Okay, never mind. I'm not going anywhere. You then spend that movement to reach points of interest like a city where you can pick up side quests or heal or buy equipment, or another event where you can find some cool loot, or, and there's plenty of this in the game, some enemies that you want to fight. A quick explanation for those of you who haven't played a lot of tabletop RPGs. The success of almost any action in the game is determined by chance. You roll some good old-fashioned dice, and the likelihood of you rolling a hit is determined by the stat that the particular action calls for. You want to dig up a dirt pile to see if there's a loot underneath? Well, that's a strength check. It'll be more likely to succeed if you send over your big tank who has a lot of strength. Or you want to try and ambush an enemy to get an early advantage in a fight? Well, that's an awareness check. That's best suited for the nimble archer class. And the twist that makes this gameplay a little more spicy is that every character has a resource called focus. All characters can spend focus to guarantee that one of the dice are gonna be a hit, meaning that even a bulky, smooth-brained barbarian can succeed where you'd normally need a mage for an intelligence check. But you might end up regretting that decision when later in a fight you can't hit nothing but air, and you have no focus to spend on that attack, and you're kicking yourself.
For that.
You have to believe, you have to aim. I taunt thee. What's happening to this fight right now? Another key concept of the game is the timeline at the top. The more time you spend running around killing enemies, doing side quests, and leveling up, the more the game is gonna amp up in difficulty and punishing encounters. Meaning you have to balance getting stronger and gearing up with progressing through the main objective of the campaign. Now, what is different in this second edition of For the King? Well, there are a couple. The first one, the graphics. And honestly, looking at a side-by-side comparison, I don't think anyone will be wowed by how much better the second game looks, but they've gotten rid of some of the blockiness and the UI has gotten a bit of a cleanup, although the UI is something we'll return to later. I will say that the spell animations and effects when you land a good roll or a crit are something that adds a lot to the experience. Oh? Attack up?
Hurt them!
I will chuck that. I'd also like to shout out the ragdoll animations they decided to keep from the first game. Jesus!
Okay.
The wolf just
Flew everywhere. This game is meant to be played with your friends, and having funny animations to look at and laugh at, it adds a lot to the experience. Yoink! What? Bee?
Looked like I sidestepped it.
Now, the bigger change to For the King 2 is the combat. Fights now take place on a 4x2 grid, and characters have primary and secondary actions. The primary action is usually the move that uses your weapon. You roll your dice, you see if you hit, and then you're automatically passing the turn to the next guy. The secondary action would be things like moving around on the grid, switching weapons, or using an item, and these actions don't end your turn. Positioning matters in that, for instance, tanks wielding a shield shield who stands in front of an ally denies the enemies to target that ally directly. There are also tiles that have different buffs or debuffs if you end your turn there, and AoE abilities now have different pattern and sizes. The difficulty scaling and the chaos mechanic of the previous game is now changed to be a bit more varied. Instead of it always being chaos, meaning mobs are getting stronger and stronger and the map changing in different ways, it can be other things like the chaos token instantly teleports you to a fight, a tough fight that yields no XP or loot. Or it can be that the tokens themselves don't do anything, but if you get 3 of them, you instantly lose the game. Other new things include, well, obviously the new content of the new campaigns, the mercenary system where you hire a strong NPC to fight with you for a while. Oh, and now you can play with 4 characters instead of 3. But other than that, it isn't much new. Fans of For the King 1 will definitely enjoy that it's more of what they love. But I have a feeling a lot of them will also feel like this is more of a 1.5 than a 2.0, if that makes sense. Now, what is up with all these mixed reviews on Steam? We gotta talk about it. Say you're a For the King 1 fan and you wanna pick up For the King 2, should you be worried? Well, maybe. On release a few weeks ago, there were reports of some pretty big game-breaking bugs, specifically with multiplayer, that made a lot of players call out the game as unplayable and unfinished. I got to jump in a few days prior to the release, and yeah, there were definitely some bugs and some desync issues with multiplayer.
I have one herb.
Oh, you have one herb. Is it good herb? Oh, nothing happened.
I healed.
How much did you heal?
You still have 9 HP for me.
No, I'm 24 now.
Oh, okay.
Oh, it's just
It
bugged.
was bugged then. Wait, did you use it
what the
twice?
No, I just used it once. Why does it show so many pop-ups?
I do not know. Yeah, it says waiting on connection right now for me, so... Connection has been lost.
This is releasing tomorrow. Why is it so buggy?
Word, actually. All that being said, we did not encounter any game-breaking bugs like the ones I saw described in Steam reviews. I did not experience any of the freezing and crashing that people reported about. Apparently there were loading screen issues that made the time you spent looking at this, at the release of Bloodborne, seem like a mere blink of an eye. Oh, PTSD, Bloodborne. Now the devs are actively in the reviews comments. My girlfriend enters the room. Slowly, she looks in. What was that?
I don't want to disturb you.
She just like did this horror opening, like super slow. Where was I? The devs are actively in there, yes, replying to the comments and saying that a lot of these things have been hotfixed. And I have since then seen some negative reviews being switched to positive ones. But yeah, it's always sad to see when a negative launch like this has this impact on fans that are excited to play a game. Another reoccurring thing you see in the reviews are that people are calling the game balance way off, saying it's downright impossible to beat the first scenario on the medium difficulty. I found the game to be very challenging, but not unfair or impossible. My party was able to beat the first scenario after a couple of tries, and I'm not incredibly talented when it comes to like turn-based RPGs. So I'm wondering if me and my team just kind of got lucky with the drops or something, or perhaps we're just secretly uber sweat lords. I don't know. I thought the balance was alright. Don't get me wrong, the game is brutal. Sometimes you just die. What the?
Okay.
B, you're not even you're not on the map anymore. I just fucking flew away. But that's something I've come to actually appreciate about the game, much like I appreciate the tough RNG in games like Gloomhaven. It makes victory taste so much sweeter when it's against all odds and you're always just a couple of unlucky rolls away from death. Now, the UI, lots of people are saying it's bad, and they're right. Basic functionality wasn't there on launch, that's all I can say. Like, it was hard to get the information you needed out of the UI in order to play properly.
Passive hard work, okay. I don't get it.
You can't read what the passives are. Sometimes on your friend's turn, the game just locks you out of information completely. I can't look at market when you're in there, it's so bad.
Yeah.
Like, we should all be able to browse together. And to me, I got particularly disappointed by this because I thought the UI for the King 1 was pretty bad. At least it was clunky and not very intuitive. And before jumping into For the King 2, I remember thinking, oh nice, hopefully I'll play this game that I really liked, but now it'll be smoother, way easier to execute, easy to extrapolate information, then, you know, smoothing out some of that wonkiness I was feeling from For the King 1, but no, it's all there. And arguably, maybe it's even a bit worse. At least that's what some people are saying. I'm not sure I agree. And to the devs' credit, some of the things were fixed within like a week of launch. Class info. Pass a build. Oh, they fixed so you can hover over the thing.
Oh,
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, well done, devs. Good. And that's great, but I still felt hindered by a lack of information and clarity in this game. And here's the thing. Most of the actions in this game are permanent. You can't undo them if you commit to a click on your mouse. And that's for good reasons. It needs to be like that. But that means that you can't guess by clicking around either. It sucks that I can't... I can't... Oh, what the fuck?
Huh?
I wanted to click on the trickster behind, and then I think I double-clicked, and then it just fired off an ability.
2 hours later.
I'm like scared to like I want to bring up the shield and read about it, but I'm scared to click like equip weapon in case it like uses up something and shit. You know, I'm scared using the menus.
That's not a good sign, actually.
The game doesn't introduce any of its concepts in multiplayer. It's all in single player, and there is an encyclopedia where you can search for information, but it doesn't always deliver, and sometimes you don't know what you're supposed to search for anyways. In combat, I want it to be easier to hover over enemy buffs and debuffs and read about them. I want it to be easier to target the right enemy. I want to be able to quickly see what buff or debuff a hex has. Look, this game is tough, and I am 100% here for it. I want to fight these punishing monsters that the game puts in front of me. But the first 10 hours of this game, I felt like I was also fighting the punishing UI at the same time. I have decent faith that most of these things will be fixed by the devs, but it's just a shame that it was launched like this. But the game is wonky, a little bit unfinished maybe, and a bit at times, but I still love this game, man. I had a great time playing it. Let's get into some of the positives. I like the grid. The grid is a good new addition to the game.
Yeah. I agreed.
The battle grid, together with the primary and secondary action system, is something that makes For the King 2's combat so great. It gives the tanks a bit more agency by being able to stand in front of an ally they don't want to be directly targeted by an enemy, but then the game throws some archer enemies at you that pierces through the first target and hits the one behind them, and all of a sudden you want to spread out. And it becomes even more spicy if there are big groups of enemies, because now you have to really pay attention to the turn order and plan with your friends, like I'll spend my secondary action to move here so we're spread out for the potential AoE attack, and then it's your turn and you follow me here so I can block for the upcoming single target attack. You know, sometimes you want to group for a big AoE heal, but then you also want to scatter because that part of the battlefield is on fire. It adds just a little bit of extra oomph and depth to a really fun turn-based combat system. And the best part is probably that swapping to a new weapon is now a secondary action. So you can swap and attack on the same turn, encouraging players to bring several situational weapons to every fight. And you can also find upgrades and equipment that gives you more than one secondary action. On my Alchemist, a character that deals magic damage, I also kept a melee weapon that scaled nicely with my second highest stat. So when we faced enemies that had like a ridiculous amount of magic resist and I couldn't break through, I could risk it, equip my melee weapon, jump to the front row because I had more than one secondary action, and stab him all in one turn. It's great. The combat was already good in For the King 1. They added a little more on top of it, made it even better. Thanks, devs. I'm loving it. And speaking of fun, if you're not familiar with punishing multiplayer turn-based RPGs, they're hella fun to play with your friends, man. Especially if the game wants you to cooperate, but also tempts you with little personal treats along the way. But I also kind of have a lot of armor. But
that's true, actually. Oh. Okay.
Oh, well.
Yeah, maybe I shouldn't have.
Whatever.
Whatever, dude.
Yeah.
Sitting there arguing with your friends about what's best for the party, while you also kind of want to do what's best for your character, always leads to a lot of funny moments.
I'm not gonna cure you from your burn. I think...
You deserve it.
No, I think it disappears after the fight anyway.
I'm gonna move towards the pier, and that's just an awareness check. So, and there's no fight there, so you guys actually don't have to go there. He still went there.
Yeah.
Plus, the scenarios are long. If you die, you start all over. When misplays happen, and they do often, the stakes are actually high. Yes, because next turn I can't get Protect, no? Oh yeah, but I get it after that, you're right.
Yeah.
But yeah, here's the point. Poro could dodge the attack, and I can't!
It's not gonna kill you.
It's fine.
You're fine.
If he rolled that, I probably would have died.
Move.
Yes.
I forgot to move again.
Oh my god, Sp4zie, you're trolling this fight.
You're trolling!
You moved into the protect, Poro. Don't put this on me.
As he's throwing this, I can't believe it.
Use your focus to taunt. What the fuck?
Good comms though.
Good comms, really good comms. I'm dead.
Not dead!
If only my team was better, then I would have been okay. For the King 2 is an excellent playground for you and your friends, whether you want to be sweaty and try and get to the end, or you just want to do silly roleplay.
Oh, for Piotr's sake, that's my husband's wagon, all right. But where is he? Judging by the looks of it, he's been hitting the sauce again, though.
I thought it read he's been hitting the sausage.
Hi, honey.
Yeah. Oh, Hildebrand, you plonker.
Oh,
Why
yeah.
have I gotten German?
Why did you turn
all of a
German? The roguelike elements of For the King 2 are way better than the previous game, in my opinion. When you started For the King 1, it felt like there were barely any weapons in the pool. And since you had to play for quite a long time before you started unlocking things, you quickly got bored of seeing like the same old dull weapons over and over again. In the second game, I feel like there's good weapon variety from the get-go. Excellent. Okay, so you want my final thoughts? Where do I stand in the end? Should you check out For the King 2? Is the game worth it? In my opinion, this is still an excellent turn-based RPG. It has tons of the good things I want to find when I fire up a game like this with my friends. Challenging gameplay, high stakes, moments of silly laughter and tension when you act in ways that might not be in the best interest of the party. And while the meta progression isn't perfect, it gets the job done. I'm still excited to dive in and do more runs with my friends. Some of the new features didn't hit all the way home for me, while others are great upgrades making the game much better. And regardless, the game can still fall back on being more For the King 1. And yes, it's a damn shame it came out in the state that it did. I was disappointed, even though I wasn't hit with the most infuriating bugs. But my recommendation to you would be this. Lay low for a little bit, give the devs 1 or 2 months to patch things over, and then dive in. If you're a new player who always wanted to check out For the King at some point, or an old returning For the King veteran who finally wants to try the second game, I think you won't be disappointed. Do you agree with my points? Drop them in the comments below. I'll be down there reading, answering questions, and hanging out. If this video was helpful and you enjoyed it, I'd love for you to leave me a like. It lets me know that you digged it. And maybe consider subscribing to the channel by clicking up here. You can also click here if you want to be introduced to a banger early access game called Witchfire. If you like FPS roguelikes, you're gonna love it. Click it, and I'll see you guys in the next one. This has been Sp4zie, and I'm out. Do it!